How's it going, everyone? Had a good day? All right, it's going to fall a long way now. They've welcomed me. They've invited me back. Where shall I start? First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my phone out of my pocket, make sure that that's not going to call, because it's going to be about that a little bit. I like to start off with story. If you've seen a show of hands, who came to the event last year? Keep your hand up if you came to the event the year before. Okay, so there is some familiar faces here and some new faces as well. I can tell you a little bit about me. Obviously, you can hear from my accent. I'm not from around here. I use normally the joke that I'm from Glasgow, but I am from a little further south from Glasgow, a little country called New Zealand. And you say, well, what's a New Zealander doing in front of you guys talking about mental wellness, mental well-being, health and well-being? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about my background. So I've actually not come from the mental health space either. I'm actually a former professional sportsman. And what do we do in New Zealand? What sport just yell it out. What sport do we play in New Zealand? Rugby, that's it. And I came to the north of England to play rugby league. And I probably made my career in one day, in one game. And it happened a long time ago, 1996. And I thought I'm the type of person who likes to kick things off with a little bit of a story. So I'm going to do that with you. It's got absolutely no relevance to what I'm presenting today, but I'm going to tell you this story anyway because it's about my favorite subject. No, not rugby, but myself. So I made my career on this one day. I was the youngest captain to lead his team out at Wembley. We had made the Challenge Cup final. I was playing for a club called the Bradford Bulls during their golden era. So the youngest captain to lead their team out, and there had never been a player that had scored a hat-trick of tries at Wembley. And leading into that game, there had been a number of players that had scored hat-tricks. So put your hand up, loud and proud, if you know the sport of rugby, either of the sports. Loud and proud, nice and strong. Let me see it. So when I say hat-tricks of tries, what position comes to mind that will score a hat-trick of tries? 3 tries. What position? Just yell it out. Winger. Okay, and what are wingers? Wingers are nothing but muscly linesmen. You've got the forwards that are the big donkeys in the middle of the park. They roll their sleeves up and get kicked out of them, right? Bashing themselves into it. And it's the pretty boys out there on the wing that catch the ball and put the ball down. They get that. And so no one had scored a hat-trick of tries. And why this is relevant is because the sponsors at the time, back in the good old days where cigarette companies could sponsor sport, put up a £10,000 bounty. So the front rows were obviously like, why should they get it? And the wingers were like, yeah, we should get it. And anyway, I was a captain. It was being a bit of a distraction. So the head coach said to me, what do you think we should do? And I said, well, why don't we do this? And I got the team together, and it was a room similar to this, maybe half the size. I said, boys, why don't we do this? If someone's lucky enough to score a hat-trick of tries, why don't we halve it down the middle? So the team gets half and you get half. And the wingers were like, I don't know about that. But the big boys, the donkeys in the middle of the park, they said, damn right, that's what we'll do. That's a great idea. Well, sod's law, I scored the hat-trick, didn't I? And I got to admit, hardest check I've ever written in my life. But I want to tell you a story because people, when they see those 3 tries, and they do play them regularly in the lead up to the Challenge Cup final every year, mainly because I'm part of the delivery team for the BBC, so they normally play it just to make me feel at home. People always talk about the 3rd try because I got the ball on halfway, or actually it might have been about 70, Ben, it was about 75. I think I got the ball inside my own in goal and went the length of the field, about that 3rd try. But actually, people don't realize that the 2nd try was the hardest try that I scored. And I'll describe why. So we were winning the game, and we come out at halftime, and we kicked the ball. We'd kicked the ball down, and we got the ball back, and we scored a try. One of our great players had scored a try. And then what happens then is the opposition kicks off back to us. And what St. Helens did at that point, and St. Helens were the team that we were playing, they kicked the ball out on the fill. So we got the ball back. I kicked it out, went down, got the ball near their try line. For those of you, I'm trying to describe this very simply. Tapped the ball, passed it to that same player that scored before, Bernard Dwyer was his name. And what Bernard was really good was a little squat bloke, And what he could do, he could get between players really quickly. In rugby league, we have the thing called a play the ball. It's not the sport where they all jump on each other and it's a rolling ball. It's the other one where the players get up and they play the ball. Our goal is to beat the two defenders off the ground. If you can beat them off the ground, they come out of play. So Bernard was great at doing this. And 10 metres out from their try line, he got that. And I was at acting half behind him. He plays the ball to me. I got nothing but a free run to the try line. And there was a gap on the try line about that wide, which in rugby terms is massive. Absolutely. And I was, back in those days, I was quick. So I've scooped the ball up and I've gone for that try line. And about 2 metres off that try line, that gap got filled in by the South Sea Islander called Vila Matautia. Now, in the South Sea Islands, down from where I'm from, they don't make small Polynesian men. They're the biggest people on the planet. And all I saw was this big, bald head coming at me. And people used to say about me as a player, because I was one of the smaller players, say, geez, you've got such great footwork and you're fast and your agility is incredible. And they'd say to me, how did you learn all of that? And I said, well, to be honest, it's built into every creature on the planet. It's called fight and flight. And that's all I try to do is stay away from the big boys. So when that big bald head was coming out, I slammed on the brakes. And what I used to do is I used to spin in tackles. And what I do is when players would hit me, I'd spin and I'd use their momentum, their power going through me, and my momentum spinning. What I would end up doing is I'd pull out of the tackle. And that's exactly what happened. Into the try. Boom, slammed on the brakes, spun in the tackle. Vila hit me, pushed me through. And as I come out of his tackle, I was falling towards the ground. The try line was right there. And I reached out and I got the ball just on the try line. Now, what a lot of people didn't know in that instant, what happened. So as I slammed on the brakes and twisted, as Vila's come through, his hands have come up, right? So he's hit me with his head. His hands have come up to try and grab a hold of me. And as I've spun, his hands have slid down. And as they've slid down, they've gone into my shorts and pulled my shorts off to the side, and my little fella's popped out. So as I've gone onto the ground and put the ball on the try line, what happens? All your teammates want to celebrate. So all my teammates are trying to pull me off the ground. Well, I'm holding onto the grass because all I can see is a line of photographers going chikin, chikin. And the last thing I wanted to see was my little Smurf on the front page of the Rugby League Press and in front of 86,000 people. What an experience. And that's how I made my career. So now you know the temperature of this presentation. Fast forward a number of years. So fast forward to 2016, 20 years. 20 years later, how I ended up in the well-being space was life happened. I was challenged. Absolutely challenged. Kicked in the teeth. 3 major things happened. I was CEO at the Bradford Bulls, and we got to payday. And we had no money in the bank. And someone whose ego was entwined with success and into that club, it was something that was completely damaging to me. The other thing that had happened is a week before that time, we had had the birth of another one of my children, and another mouth to feed, another, trying to scope the future. Week later, no money in the bank. And the third thing that happened a week after that, or the 3 weeks preceding that, was the mother of my older 2 daughters was diagnosed with incurable cancer. My daughters live at home with me. They're dealing with their mum. I'm trying to be the supportive person for them. I'm trying to be supportive at work. I'm trying to feed. It's a big beast as a stadium. You've got all the professional athletes. You've got all the administration staff, you've got ground staff. There was a conferencing and banqueting suite, so you had all of them as well. Beast of a machine. And when you're at the top of the tree, you've got to face up. And that's exactly what I'm doing. But I couldn't see the wood for the trees. Started trying to deal with everything on my own, not really having any of the coping mechanisms, and just started to just circle the drain. Got to the point where I wasn't being myself, wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping, couldn't do anything, just become a lifeless soul of the person that I once was, and I got pulled aside by my wife and a very close friend and said, "You got to make a change. You can't walk away from your family, can you? You got to still stay there for your family." The only thing that I could do was walk away from the club and the game, which was such a big part of me. It was like a breakup, heartbreaking. But I entered into 8 weeks of one-to-one counselling in the mental health space. Got some real great support from the Sport of Rugby League and their number one charity, Rugby League Cares and Sporting Chance. And then they asked me if, after they righted my ship, they asked me if I'd like to come on board and share some of the lessons that I've learned. So they then started training me to become a presenter for them and a trained alumna, as they call it, someone who can work with younger players. So I did mental health first aid, psychological first aid certification, transcendental meditation, mindfulness courses, you name it, I've done it over the past 8 years, which gives me the confidence to be able to stand in front of you guys and speak with confidence. So that's my journey and that's my relevance in regards to talking about this space. And this is about you. Yes, we're talking about our call agents, our frontline agents, but it's also about you guys. It's about all of us. We're living in one of the most stressful times in the history of mankind. And one of the big reasons, we're gonna discuss that a little bit later on in the presentation. But by identifying it, we can start to manage things a little bit better. The conversations that I've had with the team at coeo led to some growth in some of the space in which coeo, because there's great alignment with what their staff are dealing with, what you guys are dealing with in the industry, and some of the stuff that I was delivering. So I'm going to get into our presentation now. So empowering our people. So after last year's event in 2024, the survey was sent out to many of you guys, very similar to today, which you'll receive another survey. And some of the feedback that we got, the role of the agent is becoming more intense and is affecting their mental health more than ever. Again, we're seeing a rise in customer aggression, mental health challenges, and suicidal situations. This has a significant impact on our people and how we support and approach our customers in these circumstances. I'm teaching you guys to suck eggs, right? You know this. We're all living this. So what does the data tell us? More sucking egg stuff. 1.5 million people in England experiencing money and mental health problems. Nearly 50% of all people with debt claim to have mental health problems. 39% of people with mental health problems have said their financial situation had made their mental health worse. Government statistics. This is a lot of the stuff that we already know. Some of the stuff directly from coeo and feedback from their staff. We've seen a 24% increase in customers saying they are struggling with their mental health throughout 2024. A 12% increase in extreme emotional customer interactions. And an 11% increase for work with our specialised mental health agents. And we know that it's tough for people. We can see on the left-hand side of the screen that it's tough for people out there with financial difficulties. Equally, this has a knock-on effect because we can't pour from an empty cup. Just let that sink in. You can't pour from an empty cup. Can't look after your neighbour's backyard if your own backyard is a bit dirty. You look after you got to be the proof of that, right? It's tough out there, and we've got to make sure that we're looking after our people. And this is part of the project that I entered into with coeo. So empowering our people. So in 2023, obviously there were a lot of signs of this happening. There was a lot of conversation coming into 2024's event. We understand what happened during, during 2020, 2021, 2022, and beyond. Those were the most challenging times for most of us in society. They were strange times as well, wasn't it? So with that in mind, they put together, we started off with this first principle. A staff wellbeing committee that was made up with a number of the leaders in coeo's group, and they invited me on to be a part of that committee. They engaged with Wisdom App. Health Assured is the company that delivered this product. Inside the Wisdom app, you have a host of different resources that gives the staff access to blogs on mental health, covering everything from exercise, nutrition, exercise plans, nutrition plans if they want to lose weight or if they want to head in the right direction or just straighten up the ship, all the way through to vlogs and blogs on dealing with stress, dealing with anxiety, understanding the brain, etc., etc., etc. They also implemented healthy breakfasts, knowing that on Monday morning, the first thing to make sure that their staff get off on the right foot, putting a specific type of foods in front of them that'll... One of the things that I had noticed walking through the office was there were a lot of monster cans on everyone's desk, and that food is horrible. Of course it does a job. Shame on yous. Of course it does a job, right? It gives you a caffeine shot, etc., etc. But if you struggle sleeping tonight, you know why. But giving some direction on trying to help them start heading in the right direction. That was hugely important by just setting some of these principles in place. And then live workshops. So, and I was the person tasked with the responsibility of delivering the live workshops. So, first workshop that we did was understanding the brain. Managing stress was the second one. We did that last year. So if you were here last year, you would have seen that managing stress workshop. Sleep hygiene. One of the most important things that are probably overlooked when in the context of well-being, but more importantly, performance. Performance. And part of our presentation today will be getting into why, and something that hugely impacts our sleep performance. But performance is a huge driver in this as well. It's not just about making them feel happier, it's about getting the best out of everyone as well. They can't do that if the cup's not full. You can't pour from an empty cup. We'll circle back to that time and time again. Let's get physical. The number one tool when it comes to managing your mental health and your well-being. Exercise. But not everybody's been introduced to that. And some key principles on the latest elements of exercise and what you need to be productive. Some really simple things like Zone 2 training, which isn't that hard. I know when it comes to exercise, we were talking about it before. Out of all the well-being tools, if we can call them that, exercise the hardest because it grates. It's hard to do. It's not easy. Your body wants to put your feet up, right? But it is the most rewarding. It's the one thing that'll help clear your head more than anything else, reward your heart, clear your valves. It's the one tool that we can't overlook. And if we look at it from an evolutionary point of view, we're made to exercise. So we've only been farming for 10,000 years. We all understand that evolution takes hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years to happen. So we're very new to this. So farming where food's on tap. And even when you're farming, that was hard, right? Farming's hard. It's not easy work. So really, we're only talking about the last 100 years. Refrigeration's been around about 50 years? No, 70 years. But en masse, 50 years? No, probably a little bit longer than that. But you understand the point that I'm getting to. So our bodies were made to work physically. But we now live a lot of sedentary lifestyle, don't we? Mindfulness versus mindful. Whose mind's always full? Put your hand up if your mind's always full. You're always busy. Yeah, it's everyone. No one's putting up their hand, but most of everyone, right? Always full. Versus being mindful, being present, taking the time to be in the now. Very rarely do we do that. And the one that we're going to cover today, digital addiction. It's the one that's prevalent in all our lives. So it's one of the presentations, one of the workshops that I have most people dialed in about. And I've got a dialed back version of it because of our time frames, but we're going to cover the important parts. Digital addiction. Put your phones away. No, don't put your phones away. I need them. Okay, so we use a framework, the same framework all the time. So how we're wired. We start with the brain. Start by educating our team what parts of their brain are managing each of them at each time. Now, if you did the stress, if you were here last time, you would have seen this. But like I did it then, I'm going to do it again. So we use Professor Steve Peters' chimp paradox construct, where we've got the brain broken down into 3 different pieces. The human, the rational human, that's who's listening to me right now, if you are listening. The computer, where we keep all our mental storage. And then the chimpanzee, our emotional machine, the thing that more often than not gets us into trouble. It's not a bad thing. It was utilized, it was put there in the place to help us survive and actually end up here for all our ancestors. It's the first thing that was developed as we come out of the primordial ooze, and it's built into every creature on the planet: fight, flight, or freeze. Ultimately, that's what that part of the brain creates. But in the context of digital addiction, stress management, anxiety, this is the thing that becomes overriding. And it's an absolute monster. It's so much stronger than the other elements of the brain. But it can shape the computer. Generally, we use the human to put it back in its cage, put it back in its bottle. And the more we can do that, the more we can integrate the human and the chimp working together, a bit like that. I think we used it last year. We used the Incredible Hulk analogy, where Marvel started off and it was either Bruce Banner, or was the Incredible Hulk. And Bruce Banner is all of us listening to right now, but we turn into Incredible Hulk when someone cuts us off in the car. And often we come back and go, oh, why did I react like that? Well, the Marvel character now has got the Bruce Banner and the Hulk integrated into one character. And the more we can do that, the more we can manage that and keep it in its cage. Okay. Another great thing that they recently found over the past 5 to 10 years, and confirmed it over the last 5 years, I think about 2015, so 10 years ago, brain plasticity. Our brain is plastic for our entire lives. It's a good and bad thing. It's a great thing. Because if you ever find yourself at some point in your life struggling psychologically, mentally, know that you can do work to straighten that ship up again. Brain plasticity. The brain is plastic for its entire life. It's most plastic from ages about 10 to 25, really, really super plastic between 10 to 16, which has an impact on the digital addiction type thing. So there's something that's happening to our children at the moment that we need to be mindful of, but we'll go into that a little bit later. But note, brain plasticity is a real thing. We can unwire bad neural pathways, and we can wire in good neural pathways. So if you're struggling with stuff, just note that we've got this brain plasticity until we die. So you can learn a new language when you're 60, 70, 80 years of age, or you can make yourself less unhappy and more happy by entering into activity. All right. One of the things that I like to do is give you guys practical tools that you can use. Do you remember that? If you were here last year, did you remember the tool that we used last year, which was the physiological sigh, which was a deep breath in? If you ever letting stress get a hold of you, does anyone remember that? Well, we're going to show you another one similar. This is called box breathing. And this is for anxiety, not stress. So the physiological side, that you only have to do that once or twice just to bring yourself back down again in a stressful situation. So you can gain control, the rational human can gain control again. This one's for anxiety, dealing with anxiety. And it's known to calm the nervous system and lower cortisol levels. So when we're feeling anxious, there's the difference between stress and anxiety. Do we know the difference between those? One, stress is something there and now, very short-lived. Great analogy is you're waiting for a roller coaster, the big one in Blackpool, or the Nemesis at Alton Towers. You're waiting for that, and you're excited. And that's a stressor. That's a stressor. We're going to go on that. I'm a bit nervous, but it's coming. But we know it's short-lived. Anxiety would be the Nemesis breaks down while you're upside down. And you have to stay in that place. So it's ongoing. That's what anxiety is. So it's a good difference between the two of them. Now, box breathing, you do this for about 1 to 2 minutes. It's a 4 by 4 by 4 by 4 breathing experience. So you breathe in for 4 seconds. You hold your breath for 4 seconds. You breathe out slowly for 4 seconds, and you hold your breath for 4 seconds. So we're going to do this. As a team, we're going to do it together, okay? Everyone ready? So breathe in for 4 seconds. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you do that for 1 to 2 minutes, and you bring yourself back to zero. So if you're having an anxiety spike, you've just had a layer cake of thing after thing after thing, and then you can really feel it. You can do that activity for a couple of minutes. Just in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, just to bring yourself back to normal again. One thing you're doing, you're being very mindful, you're coming back to the present, you're not thinking, you have to think about the box breathing exercise, so you're not thinking about the thing that's triggering you. Okay. Manage digital, or it'll manage you. So everyone's got their phones, right? Understanding digital media, is your smartphone a product or are you the product? What do I mean by that? Have you been made? Have you been created? Have you been shaped? So I want everybody to get their phones out. I'm going to do a little activity. Get your phones out. Go into your settings. Have a look at your phone usage. The last time you did that. Have a look at the time that you spent on your phone. And more importantly, have a look at your pickups. So if you can see your pickups.
Where are we going, Robbie?
So, iPhone?
Yep.
It'll be under screen time. See all app and website activity, click on that. And then scroll down to your pickups. You got it? What have you got? Anyone want to yell out their pickups? How much? 116. Nice, like that. 164. Hey? 247. 247. One of the things I want you to be thinking about here is how many times can you remember picking it up? If you can remember, 116 or 2, if you can remember that many times, then it's a product. If you can't remember a tenth of those times, then you've been made. And this is what digital media is all about now. How we can do a number of things that can keep you doing things that they want us to do. So a brief history of the smartphone. Key milestones. Who had one of these? BlackBerry. I was on Team BlackBerry. Who had one? We put our hands up with shame, don't we? But when they come out, you can get your emails on them. They were brilliant. So key milestones, so late 90s, early 2000s, the rise of PDAs. BlackBerry, I love my BlackBerry. Palm in the BlackBerry. Mid-2000 convergence and the birth of modern smartphones. 2008, Apple revolution and the rise of Android. 2010, key time. 2010 was the era of the app ecosystem and app stores. So key time then, where everyone started adopting phones. So everyone started, but the real key time came in introduction of targeted algorithms in 2015. So algorithms became a part of the app world very quickly after they were introduced, but targeted algorithms were when they become really quite challenging for us and the way our brains work. So 2020, the modern smartphones, all the smartphones that we have right now. What did it lead to? the impact on our mental health. We live in a society where we're always on. We're always on. We're always doing something. When's the last time you went to the bus stop or you were waiting for a friend anywhere in a bar or anything and you just sat there? You didn't get your phone out? When's the last time you just sat there and just became present? You don't, do you? We don't. We get our phone out and we entertain ourselves. We're the product. We've been made. We're going to get into how it works now. So how does digital media use us? It keeps us locked on the phone. We're using it. We know. We looked at our pickups. We can't register 50%, not 75%. We can't register 25% of the times we've picked up our phones. Can't remember them. You're just doing it all the time. How often do you sit at home watching TV and your phone's right there on the armrest of your couch or right next to you or in your back pocket? It's always there. It seems to always be present. Oh, I might miss out. You're not going to miss out on anything. But what we are, we're always on. So what happens when the adverts used to come on our favourite TV program? We've got on-demand TV now, so very rarely we get adverts. But what happens when the adverts come on? You pick your phone up and we're straight into it, stimulating ourselves. Once again, we're on it. And this is what they want. This is what they want. Are we dopes or is it dopamine? So this is how it works. A cycle of reward and reinforcement. So the really important things down here is the VTA area. So in the context of addiction, and this what we're talking about is digital addiction, is the VTA and the neurostral DA system firing these chemicals through our bodies, keeping us dialed in. And remember when we had the three different parts of the brain, and we had our chimp here, we've got our rational human here in the frontal cortex, and in the back here we've got all the way our neuropathway highways, all the way back here. At some point, through our desire to keep going back and forward, so when we were making a rational decision to engage with our phone for entertainment, at some point it started to bypass the rational human and just started going straight to the computer. Because we're doing it without we even knowing about it. We're going, this wants entertainment, this gives it. And they're just doing it without our knowledge. We've been made, we're a product. We're the product. The phone ain't the product, we're the product. And the cycle of reward and reinforcement. So targeted rewards. This is the way it works. They're not going to give you what you want all the time. It doesn't work that way. If we get what we want all the time, it blunts our dopamine levels. So we see something, we're scrolling on social media. We see something that we like. It entertains us. We get that dopamine hit. We're like, ooh, I like that. And then what happens after we've got a baseline? What happens after a dopamine hit? We have a dip. Goes below the baseline. This feels uncomfortable. I now want that feeling of goodness again. So what do? We scroll some more. Get that hit again. But if they were to give us that hit on every single thing that we scroll through, we'd blunt that dopamine level and it would start to numb it. So what they do is they dole it out a little bit at a time. Not all the time. And they've learnt this from gambling. So you go into Las Vegas. We had some friends go to Las Vegas just recently. The rugby league was out there. You go to Las Vegas, you know, if you're a gambler, you know the machines are going to pay out. You know it. 100%. You know it. It's just when. Our brains know that scrolling, we're going to get that entertainment. More importantly, those companies know we're going to get that entertainment. It's just when. And that's what keeps us scrolling. And by that time, we've seen 18 adverts. What is Facebook? What is Instagram? What is TikTok? What are they? Just yell it out. What are they? What sort of platforms are they? Social media? They're not social media. That's exactly right, Phil. They're advertising companies. The advertising companies. Do you know when you post something that your content only goes to 3 to 7% of your followers? Did you know that? It's not in their best interest to let you communicate with everybody that you're friends with. But if you pay for it, yeah. So you get how it works. They're advertising companies. They're all of them. They're advertising companies. And they keep us going back. And every time we scroll past one of those videos, they get paid for it. One of those adverts, sorry. They get paid for it. And they're killing it. And, they're managing our politicians at the moment. Big money in that type of work. Big money. So we're always on. We're always needing. It's addiction. 101. It's how we keep going back. The negative side of brain plasticity, because this is the product side. So this is what they've created. Through that repetition and that bypassing of the rational human, we're going straight to the computer. So let's have a look at what techniques they use, because they use a raft of techniques. So let's look at social media. What triggers dopamine in social media? Likes and comments, social validation. My people like me. I'm validated, which is, that anchors back into our survival mechanism, because if more people like you, you're more safety. It's a community thing. So that's why we like it. And they know it, though. They know it. It's a lot more tools than they get a lot more tools than gambling. Notifications, you can turn them off. You can turn notifications off. Notification. Oh, look, someone wants a message with me, or someone's engaged with me, or there's something here for me. Scrolling and content stimuli. We've spoken about scrolling. Social interaction. This is the main reason why we got into social media in the first place, to interact with people. Content creation. Content is interesting. Gamification features. Personalization and targeting, like we were talking about, back down in 2015 when they realized actually they can go to us as people, not just the wider scope of the communities in which we operate in, but personalized targeting. They have been looking for this type of stuff. Every website you ever go on, except the cookies. That's what it's about. So it's communicating in the big wire framework of the internet what you're looking for, what you like. Personalization and targeting. Fear of missing out. Don't want to miss out on what someone's saying. Don't want to miss out. A lot of the time they're saying rubbish that it grates with you. But you want to go back to see what they've said next time, right? That's why we keep going back. And social comparison. This is the tough one. Social comparison. Again, it's a survival mechanism. How are they doing better than me? What do I need? Do I need to up my game? All of this stuff, it either creates dopamine with a drop or it creates a release of cortisol, keeping us busy and keeping us down. That's why we've got to manage it, or it'll manage us. Primarily, and don't get me wrong, boys, we do play our part in this space as well, but primarily this is a bigger problem for ladies, for female. For boys, it's online gaming and that other one, porn. I'm not going to do the porn slide, but online gaming for boys. So again, random intermittent reward. If especially like a game like Fortnite, they bring out so many new worlds and stuff like that. If you play Fortnite, you'll know that that's a massive driver to staying playing Fortnite. Going and, I want to try this new skin on and stuff like that. So achievement and progression, rewards and loot, social interaction, competition and challenge, exploration and discovery, customization and personalization, immediate feedback, endorphin release, and community and belonging. It's not all bad, video games, because there's that trying to deconstruct a puzzle. The shown benefits of being able to do that aspect by improving that, you're deconstructing the challenges. But primarily, the way that the video games are working now is basically to keep you locked in the game. Got to keep coming back from that dopamine is driving me. I need my endorphin fix, but the dopamine is what drives you. The impact on your mental health, so anxiety. So when we're talking about if you're having so many peaks and troughs with your dopamine levels, it blunts them. basically it starts to lower the threshold of your baseline. And so you become a bit numb to what's entertaining. And that folds not just onto the world in which you're scrolling on, it folds over into the real world. And what you can identify is actually stimulating things that's entertaining for you. So too much of it can lead to anxiety. But we can use the box breathing, right? Let's remember the box breathing. Try it on your way home. Obviously, with anxiety, it leads to depression, sleep disorders. Here's going to come another awkward question. Who takes their phone into their room? Put your hand up. At night. Naughty. So there's a number of reasons. There's three main reasons about sleep disorders. One, phones are entertaining. What's on them is entertaining. They're exciting. Two, it folds time, doesn't it? How often you play on your phone and 45 minutes is gone? Three, blue light has an impact on your ability to release serotonin and melatonin, the two chemicals. That serotonin makes you chill out in the evening. Melatonin is your sleep chemical in your brain. And we need that release, and we need it released nicely to get high quality sleep. Because what does sleep offer us? Better performance. Hugely. I can't reiterate how important sleep hygiene is. It's huge. It's one of your pillars. So you need to consider your sleep routine. Obviously, it can create stress. Attention deficit. How many people do you hear these days talking about, I must have attention deficit disorder? You hear that a lot, right? They don't. Some possibly do. So the person, my ex, the person that I had children with, and then who sadly passed away, she was psychologically diagnosed with attention hyperactivity disorder. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And so I know what attention deficit disorder really is. And what we're doing is by watching so much short form content, we're ruining our ability to stay focused. So we're shortening our attention span. We're actually increasing our ability to have shorter, little focused things. So there is some benefits in it, but in the long term, a lot of the work that we do needs your full attention span, doesn't it? You need to be focused. You know, if you're writing a report or you're into a bigger project of work, you can't just keep breaking off and task switching. Who does a lot of task switching? I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but you know, when you're sitting at your desk, another notification comes in, your phone goes off, and you're doing all of these things. It's a affliction of our generation. So attention deficit. We shorten our attention spans by watching more and more, dialing in more and more short-form content. Self-esteem issues. There are other things as well. This has an impact on your psychological health, your physical health. If you're thinking about the impact on your sleep, for one, has an impact on your physical health. If you're tired, what do then? You reach for easy foods, easy ways to make you feel better. Sugar. Processed sugar makes you feel better, doesn't it? A chocolate bar, a cake, stuff that's really simple, really easy. We do it repetitively. And that's how it can have a knock-on effect with many aspects of your well-being overall. But the great news is there's brain plasticity. So like I said, it doesn't matter how far we've gone, we can always come back. We can improve things. And like everyone else in this room, we didn't know this information. This information has only been really widely shared with the public over the last few years. There's a great book for parents called The Anxious Generation, but the anxious generation, the principles in the anxious generation outside of play, real play, it talks about digital media and the impact on youngsters. It's relevant to us. All the science here is relevant to every human because of this thing. Brain plasticity. We can improve our situations in life. We can improve anything. So, how do we manage this digital madness? Here's the tools. Set usage limits. So set time frames on when you can use specific platforms, i.e. your social media, your communication, like WhatsApp and stuff like that. Set usage limits. Disable notifications. Go through your phone. If you don't need them, if they're not being used as a tool, Disable them. You're not missing out on anything. I promise you. You're not missing out on anything. Create no phone zones. Dinner table, living room at night, bedrooms would be a good one. If you want to disconnect, we're talking about brain connectivity. If you can identify, and most rooms that I'm in can identify that they use their phones too much, and it's having an impact on some of the things that we're talking about, their performance, their ability, they're just too busy, their mind's full of everything. One of the things about sleep as well is what happens when if we're no longer having any time still, if we can't go to the pub and wait for our friend without having any still, when do we reflect? If we just come out of a meeting and we're waiting for an Uber or something, we could go straight on our phone. When do we get to reflect on what was said in that meeting? When our head hits the pillow, right? And people are wondering, why can't I sleep? Why have I got all this mind traffic? Because we haven't dealt with it the way we used to deal with it. We used to deal with it during the day, after the meeting, when we had those times. But we're filling up all those spare times, those mindfulness time, those time to be present by going on our phones. So create no phone zones. Set specific times for use. Like I was saying, the impact on sleep. If you go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, you ideally don't want to use your phone for 2 hours before that. So at 8 o'clock, turn your phone off. Minimally, 1 hour before you go to sleep is probably a good, the minimal you'll want. So 1 hour, 9 o'clock, put your phone down. It's done for the day. Give yourself a rest. Pat yourself on the back. You've had a great day. You really deserve it. Use grayscale mode. I'll get to that. Limit social media use. We understand that it's not social media, is it? It's an advertising company. You're not talking to everyone. So manage that, or be mindful of it. You don't have to do all these things, but be mindful. The more we're mindful of it, the more we take back control. And I think that's the most important thing. And as you can imagine, I'm telling this to the staff that are having to deal with very irate customers and with a lot of debt, mental health issues, dealing with customers that are dealing with a lot of tough and challenging times. So, and what we need them to be is in the best place that they can possibly be so they can deal with those members of staff, those clients and customers as professionally as possible. Apply a mindful approach, like I was just talking about. Be mindful of the amount of usage of your digital media. Apply a digital detox. Everyone put up their hands. Everyone put up their hands. If I say to you, you're not allowed to use your phone for the next 7 days, leave your hand up if you're going to do it with me. All right? So that's addiction. I know, well, you got to do it for work. Really? Do we really? You know, you go to work for work. You got a laptop. You need your phone. Yeah, it's something to explore. So explore it within yourself. What do I need this for? Don't get me wrong, they're brilliant tools. The most brilliant tool that we've had invented over the past 20 years. Brilliant tools. It's just when they become toys. And if you can't deal with it, seek professional help. It's always a caveat. Sometimes there's some stuff that are going on that you can't, no matter what coping mechanisms are available, you just can't get through it. There's nothing wrong with professional help. If you were sick, if you had the flu, you go to the doctor. If you hurt your leg, you go to the doctor, you go to a physio. We've got no problem with doing that. This is a similar thing. And the impact on your performance and your staff's performance, very similar. You go see a professional. Nothing wrong with that. We've got to create a culture where that's cool, all right? Or that's acceptable, that's normal. That's the thing that we've got to do. Okay, so coping mechanism, grayscale mode. There we go. One of the best tools I've found is grayscale mode. You look at this, the screen on your right, straight away you can identify Facebook, Netflix, WhatsApp, Messenger, YouTube. You know what they look like. Your brain knows what they look like. The brain doesn't have to look for them. How many times you go to do some banking, online banking, and then you turn your phone on, the notification there, you go into it, you message your mates, and you end up scrolling. 45 minutes is gone, you haven't done the banking, you turn your phone off, and then half an hour after you go, I still haven't done the banking. How often? That happens a lot, right? You get into your phone to do something, to use it as a tool, as it's supposed to be used for, and we get drifted off. Well, with grayscale mode, it's hard to find what you want. So straight away, you're being mindful. Straight away, you're engaging with that prefrontal cortex, the human, the rational human. The rational human that wants to do the banking. It's horrible, don't get me wrong. Oh, you've got to get used to it. It is ugly. It's horrible. Ugh. But it works. It works. The other tool is the phone station. So this is the one. So I'm going to say there's a caveat. You can use your phone as much as you want. You can play on it. You can do whatever you want. But you've got to find one spot in your house where your phone stays. It just stays in that one spot. So at my house, we've got an island kitchen island in the kitchen with a power point that comes out of the island. All the devices stay there. And anyone's allowed to use it as much as they want, but they're not allowed to sit down. And I tell you, after 10 minutes of standing there like this, everything starts to hurt. And the first thing you do, you start being mindful of what you're doing again. And you start to manage the media as opposed to it, and it works. It doesn't come into the living room. It doesn't come into the dining room. It stays there. I can use it as much as I want. I can fill my boots as much as I want, but I don't want to. I don't want to stand there and do that and talk nonsense with my mate. If I'm sitting in the living room, that'll happen. The next minute, I'm onto a platform that's giving me offers and stuff like that. And I'm back in it again. The phone station. Now, you'll see in your bag, so I pretty much put together everything in your bags. So in your bag, you'll see you've got a bamboo little phone holder. It's for the phone station. Specifically, the water bottle. It's for the exercise element. So stay hydrated. I want you to stay hydrated. The pen and the notepad, well, the notepad's just brilliant because it's a to-do list, right? And how often are we working through these things where, oh God, I've got to do that. If it's there all the time, you can do it. But more importantly, there's a join up. So reflecting, getting rid of your thoughts and everything, writing things down, that's a better way of getting that information out. Equally, it's a better way of learning as well. Kinetic learning, doing something physical and psychological. So writing things down, going back to old school, writing things down, physically writing it down, not typing it out. It doesn't work the same. My to-do list, I want to do this. It does not work the same. Your thumb's going. But writing things down does. Helps you to wire in strengthens those new neuro pathways that you're trying to strengthen. All right, feedback from our people. I only put these two on there because they mentioned me. Amazing session with Robbie. Got it, it's the last one. Thanks, Robbie. I really like today's session because I've been really using the techniques to help my mind, body, and health. Really appreciate our company actually bringing in someone to explain how to deal with our problems in work and outside of the work. All of the tools go in and out. This was a great one. That happened only in the last session. I used the wisdom map to chat directly with a counsellor. It made a real difference to how I was feeling, and they've offered some great advice. Great to hear that, actually using the tools that we've put in place for them. Then and now, so getting off the ground, the workshops, 2020, 2024, as we ran through, understanding these 6 ones, this is what we did last year. We've stepped it up this year, goal planning and setting, adding stuff that goes beyond just mental health into professional development as well. So goal planning and setting, which happened in January, like to set goals. So giving them a process and a plan, managing anxiety, growth mindset, feed the machine, managing change, 5 ways to well-being, personal brand, teaching them how to protect themselves as a personal brand, which will protect the company, financial literacy, getting motivated and activated. And there's another one, but I only had a template for 9 workshops for the presentation. The other one is just basically they're setting up a plan for 2026. That's the last station that we're doing. Empowering our people in 2024. So this is what we did last year, right? Staff Wellbeing Committee, Wisdom App, Healthy Breakfast Live Workshop. This year, the Staff Wellbeing Committee will have additions to the committee where we're inviting frontline staff in to be part of that group. The Wisdom Map is going from strength to strength, healthy breakfast. Enhanced workshop program, as you saw, it's not just personal development, but we're looking at professional development as well. Engagement decor, what that means is the business is getting a refurb, but we're going to put up screens. When you work in a business that's got a poster up, you see the poster for the first time, see it for the second time, by the third time it starts to become wallpaper. So the screens are going to be promoting and educating all of these, reinforcing all of the messages that go within the business. So big digital screens that's going to be reinforced. That's taken from the sports environment. We want to immerse the staff at coeo with looking after themselves, making themselves the best version of themselves so they can be the best performers that they can be for themselves and the company. And also, we're exploring having staff members on the front line being wellbeing champions. So educating mental health first aid in and around the staff so those conversations can be ongoing all the time. And we've got people that aren't officials, part of the business, that can actually speak from a place of confidence when anyone else is dealing with any issues. Okay, that's me. I'm pretty much done. Homework. Turn your phone back into a tool and not a toy. If it is a toy, if you've identified that maybe it is a toy, then become mindful of it. Start to think about something. We'll share this slide deck so you can have it just as a little bit of a reminder. Yeah, thank you.